How do you diffuse them? Oh, this is useless. Oh. Hi. I was just reading some literature that carol singers left behind. I didn't hear you walk in. My goodness, you should really knock. We do have a few more beers to go through in our Advent series, Beers and Holiday Cheers, where I try a German beer from the Advent calendar and pair it up with a recommended holiday film. We're very near to the end of Advent now. Just a few more beers left. What? Oh my. How do they keep doing that? Oh, Earl, you couldn't wait, huh? We've got a Earl today. Um, that's not the type of beer. That's just its name, like Carl in the other episode. Earl is an award-winning Hell's lager. We've had plenty of Hell-style lagers, and as you all know, the defining question when having a simple lager like this that all film buffs ask is, of course, should this be paired with Ernest Saves Christmas, or should it be paired with Muppet Christmas Carol? It's a delicate balancing act. How is Earl gonna line up? We can only taste and see. Earl. Very smooth. Very smooth. Very straightforward. Okay. I'm feeling kind of a balancing act going on in my mouth here, like things are coming together, which usually means we're gonna have to go with Muppet Christmas Carol because you've got all those various wild characters that just blend together into a smooth, pleasant performance. Let me just let me just make sure this is a Muppet Christmas Carol. Mm, mm. No, 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 no. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm gonna have to change this up. This is not Muppet Christmas Carol. This is not Ernest Saves Christmas. This is so smooth. It has to be paired with some spice. I'm thinking like a nice curry, a nice Tim curry. Yeah, that's right. Film buffs knew already from the positioning of the fan on the wall, but this beer, oh my goodness, it would just match perfectly with that spice and that sass that Tim Curry brings in his performance in Muppet Treasure Island. Of course. Oh, wow. I should have been thinking of this from the beginning. I'm so sorry. Yes, Muppet Treasure Island. Now you might not think of it as a traditional Christmas film, but the Muppets have been scientifically proven to be appropriate for all ages and all major holidays. And here's a little fun fact you only get on this channel from a true film buff like me. Muppet Treasure Island, unlike Muppet Christmas Carol, unlike even Ernest Saves Christmas, has a rare awarding distinction. That's right, it is the only film that I have seen in theaters more than once. So, Muppet Treasure Island. Moving right along, we have a pale ale now. The name of this beer translates to magic pearls. And this is a pretty unique setup. So the company that makes the advent calendar, Kalia, puts out kind of a annual challenge to different breweries to use special hops to make a beer of their choosing. And different breweries put out a different magic pearl every year. And this year, the brewery that's making the magic pearl decided to do a style they've never done before, the pale ale. If you live in North America, especially the United States, you've probably seen pale ales all over the place. The India pale ale style, the bitter, the strong, really getting in as much flavor and bitterness and alcohol content as you can. It's almost like an arms race, it seems, with some of these craft breweries in the US to make the strongest, the most bitter beer out there. Well, it's not really the tradition in Germany. And now we've got a German style pale ale at the tail end of our advent calendar this year. It's not what's typical, but it is the magic pearl. Let's see what it tastes like, and let's see what film we might pair this up with. Magic Pearl. I I'm a fan of India pale ales. I like a strong, flavorful bitter beer. This has hints of that. When you start to get the initial front flavors, you get some of that bitterness that you're used to if you're used to the kind of India pale ales you see a lot of in North America, but it's not like that though. It's got some of the bitterness, but it's so much smoother, and I think you kind of taste more on the back end than you do because like the flavor is so heavily front loaded in a lot of the North American pale ales. With this, it gives it room to breathe. You can there's a subtle complexity, I suppose you might say. It's not the solid punch in the face you get from an American style pale ale. It's much more diplomatic, you might say. Mm. Mm-hmm. Surprising. You know, it's bitter, but it's fun. It's light. It's good. So what film would I pair with this for the holidays? Well, obviously, it's got to be released for holiday audiences at the end of 2019, a final burst of joy in theaters before a global pandemic would shut the world down. Cats the Musical, a film adaptation of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Broadway show based upon children's poetry by T.S. Eliot. The film version continues in the Broadway's theme of just completely disavowing any sense of plot whatsoever. And boy, is it a hoot! Panned by critics and laughed out of theaters by audiences the world over, Cats became the bad movie event, possibly of the whole past decade. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun. Maybe you're not into musical theater. Maybe you're not into bad movies. It doesn't matter if this isn't your typical kind of thing. This is such a joyous thrill ride of horrible decisions by competent people that you just have to check it out for yourself. Get as many friends together as you can who have not seen it. Watch it together. And look, I'm not just saying this because every time I record, I get interrupted by my own little Mr. Mistopheles here. It's just such a fun experience. If you haven't watched it, get some people together and put it on. You'll thank me later. Two more beers to go. We're on number three. This is another beer made in a castle in Germany. This time a Marzen style. We've encountered this before. Marzen, March. Beers traditionally brewed during cold weather because they needed cold temperatures to ferment and get up the strength to be ready for March and the festivals of spring that would follow. So people could have a nice strong beer to celebrate the warming temperatures. This particular beer is named after the Hussar. I'm never sure if I'm pronouncing things right, but the Hussar were a type of light cavalry unit in militaries starting in the middle parts of Europe in the late Middle Ages. The style of dress that you see here became popular for light cavalry units all across Europe as the centuries went on. In addition to having their style adopted across the continent, the hussar also came to be romanticized as a job for daring, adventurous, handsome, bold men who get on those horses and travel around fighting for the honor of their culture, protecting the livelihoods of the people back at home. But how's their beer? Let's find out. It's a great beer for adventure. It's smooth, but it's got some strength behind it. You can keep drinking it over time and you just feel ready to go out and do what needs to be done to protect our people back in home. So what movie? Well, if we're talking about handsome, daring, adventurous men and Christmas, There's really only one thing on my mind. While Lord of the Rings may not be in and of itself a traditional Christmas tale, the films were released one after the other over the course of 3 years at Christmas time. Now, if you were like some true film buffs out there and spent the Christmas vacation of your last year of high school reading through all of the books in this series to prepare you for the movies and understand all the lore and background instead of researching, say, colleges, you would also associate these films very strongly with Christmas time. And anytime you see them repeated on television, on showings in cinemas, at a friend's house, whatever, there's a feeling that comes up that just reminds you of Christmas time and the end of the year and friends and family and coming together and just trying to do what's right for the people back in the Shire. And speaking of handsome, daring, adventurous men, I checked and people are still making personality quizzes online to help you figure out which Lord of the Rings character is your ideal boyfriend. I mean, the answer should always be Gimli, of course, but I won't judge you if you're a Legolas or an Aragorn or whatever. And look, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, when I started growing my hair out, what was the first image that came to my mind? Same as any other guy like me. Hmm. Hmm. And last but certainly not least, we have another Hell Lager. This one from a family run brewery that follows the traditional Bavarian purity laws. Now remember, what is the film buff's general question when faced with a quality traditional lager? Is it an earnest lager or is it a Muppet lager? Well, let's find out. Very light, very smooth. Now, typically, I think I would probably lean towards an earnest with this, but I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to make this more interactive. What are the common themes in both Ernest and Muppet Christmas Carol? You have people working for the good of the community, you have people coming together, you have personalities that might normally clash, just learning to work together for a greater purpose. And when I think of Christmas, when I think of on these themes, there's actually a video game that I'm going to recommend that you try to help build that sense of community, bring people together, try to work as a team for the greater good of everyone involved. But I'm, of course, talking about the Lemmings series in video games, where you have a team of small, adorable little critters and you designate different tasks to them to help them accomplish the goal of getting from point A safely to point B. Mess it up and they might explode or fall into lava or what have you. But anyway, team spirit themes common in both Ernest and Muppet Christmas Carol, very prevalent in Lemmings. And this isn't just pulling things out of the air. Lemmings actually did a series of Christmas themed games. So if you want to play on the themes that are an inspiration to be shared with a lager like this, I recommend, of course, either you can watch the Ernest movie or the Muppet Christmas Carol, but if you really want to dig in, if you really want to have the true, full experience, go with Lemmings. And if you want to take it a step further, find yourself a copy, a floppy, of one of the Lemmings holiday games. You'll thank me later.